T2A. T2A01. What is a common repeater frequency offset in the 2-meter band? Plus or minus 600 kilohertz. T2A02. What is the national calling frequency for FM simplex operations in the 2-meter band? 146.520 megahertz. T2A03. What is a common repeater frequency offset in the 70 centimeter band? Plus or minus 5 megahertz. T2A04. What is an appropriate way to call another station on a repeater if you know the other station's call sign? Say the station's call sign, then identify with your call sign. T2A05. How should you respond to a station calling CQ? Transmit the other station's call sign followed by your sign. T2A06. Which of the following is required when making on-the-air test transmissions? Identify the transmitting station. T2A07. What is meant by, quote, repeater offset, quote? The difference between a repeater's transmit and receive frequencies. T2A08. What is the meaning of the procedural signal CQ? Calling any station. T2A09. Which of the following indicates that a station is listening on a repeater and looking for a contact? The station's call sign followed by the word, quote, monitoring, quote. T2A10. What is a band plan beyond the privileges established by the FCC? A voluntary guideline for using different modes or activities within an amateur band. T2A11. What term describes an amateur station that is transmitting and receiving on the same frequency? Simplex. T2A12. What should you do before calling CQ? All the choices are correct. Listen first to be sure that no one else is using the frequency. Ask if the frequency is in use. Make sure you are authorized to use that frequency. T2B. T2B01. How is a VHF/UHF transceiver's, quote, reverse function used? To listen on a repeater's input frequency. T2B02. What term describes the use of a subaudible tone transmitted along with a normal voice audio to open the squelch of a receiver? CTC-SS. T2B03. Which of the following describes a linked repeater network? A network of repeaters in which signals received by one repeater are transmitted by all the repeaters in the network. T2B04. Which of the following could be the reason you are unable to access a repeater whose output you can hear? All the choices are correct. Improper transceiver offset. You are using the wrong CTCSS tone. You are using the wrong DCS code. T2B05. What would cause your FM transmission audio to be distorted on voice peaks? You are talking too loudly. DTMF. T2B07. How can you join a digital repeater's quote talk group? Program your radio with the group's ID or code. T2B08. Which of the following applies when two stations transmitting on the same frequency interfere with each other? The stations should negotiate continued use of the frequency. T2B09. Why are simplex channels designated in the VHF/UHF band plans? So stations within range of each other can communicate without typing up a repeater. T2B10. Which Q signal indicates that you are receiving interference from other stations? QRM. T2B11. Which Q signal indicates that you are changing frequency? QSY. T2B12. What is the purpose of the code? What is the purpose of the color code used on DMR repeater systems? Must match the repeater color code for access. T2B13. What is the purpose of a squelch function? Mute the receiver audio when a signal is not present. T2C. T2C01. When do FCC rules not apply to the operation of an amateur station? FCC rules always apply. T2C02. Which of the following are typical duties of a net control station? Call the net to order and direct communications between stations checking in. T2C03. What technique is used to ensure that voice messages containing unusual words are received correctly? Spell the words using a standard phonetic alphabet. T2C04. What is races? An FCC Part 97 amateur radio service for civil defense communications during national emergencies. T2C05. What does the term, quote, traffic refer to in net operation? Messages exchanged by net stations. T2C06. What is the Amateur Radio Emergency Service, ARRS? A group of licensed amateurs who have voluntarily registered their qualifications and equipment for communications duty in the public service. T2C07. Which of the following is standard practice when you participate in a net? Unless you are reporting an emergency, transmit only when directed by the net control station. T2C08. Which of the following is a characteristic of good traffic handling? Passing messages exactly as received. T2C09. Are amateur station control operators ever permitted to operate outside the frequency privileges of their license class? Yes, but only in situations involving the immediate safety of human life or protection of property. T2C10. What information is contained in the preamble of a formal traffic message? Information needed to track the message. T2C11. What is meant by, quote, check in a radiogram header? The number of words or word equivalents in the text portion of the message.
Operator 7G, please